And we're back live at the lake. It is the Missouri School Boards Association annual conference here. Tantera Resort playing host, and KTRS once again dedicating the programming to our ongoing series, Issues in Education, partnering with ITNR to talk about the kids, to talk about schooling. And we have a panel in front of us. That's Melissa Randol, Executive Director of the MSBA, Brent Ghan, Chief of Staff, MSBA, and now in the hot seat. We just brought him in here, cold out of the bullpen. Gerry Lee, board member from Springfield. Let's talk about early childhood education. Brent and Melissa, where are we in terms of that, and what is the focus right now when it comes to early education?
Well, first of all, it's embarrassing where we are as a state in terms of our commitment to funding for early childhood education. We're dead last in the Midwest and one of the lowest in the country in terms of the resources we commit to providing quality education for children, quality early childhood education for children. Even though the research is clear, there could not be a better investment in terms of improving economic development in our state, lowering crime, reducing reliance on social services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Research is clear. It's just indisputable that investing in quality early childhood education will improve our society in many, many ways. But we are dead last, and that's why MSBA has aggressively supported trying to improve Missouri's quality early childhood availability across the state and finding a funding source for that. And we are supporting an increase in cigarette tax of 60 cents to drive more money to early childhood education.
And is that backed right now? It
will be on the ballot in November.
So it will be on the ballot.
Yeah. And we're looking at cigarette tax because we, again, are the lowest in the country in terms of cigarette tax. And we feel like that there are many positives in terms of looking at an increase in cigarette tax. Number one, we need the revenue. We desperately need the revenue in our state. Number two, this also, we know that there is a connection between a marginal increase in cigarette tax and less reliance on cigarettes. And we know that the impact of smoking and on our social service costs is immense in our state and growing. We're one of the highest, fastest growing in terms of the health impact that we are, accruing in our state in social services, Medicaid in particular. And so we need to have an increase in the cigarette tax in order to help curb those costs. But we specifically need it to help fund an area that we have neglected.
And how would that funding work, Brent? I mean, it would be earmarked specifically for all school districts, certain areas, or how do you take that money, if approved,
right,
and get it to the right spot?
According to the proposal, Martin, it's called Amendment 3 on the November ballot, and it is a constitutional amendment. And one of the best things about it is it creates what's called a lockbox, so that this money is dedicated for early childhood education and health programs and can be used for no other purpose, and will not be diverted, as we've seen with some other issues in the past when we've had revenue increases. So we're really pleased about that. And there's a formula that will be used, and a commission that will be appointed that will be figuring out more of the specifics of how the money will be distributed. But it will be distributed statewide, and ultimately will have the potential to benefit school districts throughout the state, whether they're urban, suburban, or rural.
And I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but has the lottery money gone to the school? They always say all these huge numbers. Is there a little bit of a myth there? Is there a PC answer to that question?
This is one of the reasons why this particular issue has created this constitutional lockbox, because of what has happened with lottery money over the years. And, you'll see frequent ads on lottery money saying that so much money is going to education, and that's true. Lottery money has been dedicated to education, but has it been a net increase for education over the years? That's the real question, because other revenue on the other side, general revenue, probably has not increased as much as it should have for education, because we've had this dedicated pool of lottery money. So we really, while lottery money, yes, does go to education, it really hasn't proven to be the benefit in funding that I think a lot of people hoped it would be.
Because it's a small percentage. I mean, it's not like if I buy a lottery ticket, they go, oh, that's going for all the kids. That's the misnomer, correct?
That's exactly right.
That's right.
All right, I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but we could talk about that for hours, because I've seen the commercials and it sounds good. Gerry, what about Springfield? Because you're not a small town. You're not a big city like Kansas City or St. Louis. What are the issues that you guys face? Are you Are you sort of a blend between the big and the small in terms of what you're dealing with?
We are an urban district. I mean, we're the largest school district in the state of Missouri, and so we have some of the same issues the St. Louis, Kansas City issues have with poverty and kids being ready for school. And that's part of this whole early childhood concept is how can we make our kids ready for the first day of kindergarten to sit down and be ready to learn. And that's something that have struggled with, and so we're not the only one. Every school district struggles. How do we get our kids ready for school? And when you're talking starting from birth. We're not talking about just 3-4-year-olds. We're talking about birth for the parents as teachers or programs like that help get our kids ready, help parents get their kids ready. What can we do to help them and increase that quality? And so, we've got about 54% of poverty level in Springfield, which is high for Springfield. I mean, it's not 80 or 90% that St. Louis or Kansas City has, but we have the same problems that they have from an urban district standpoint.
And what happens, some of these kids, they get dropped off for the beginning of school, and they've never really had any kind of training, and they're not ready even for, like you said, kindergarten. Most of us can't fathom that, but it does happen, where they are raised in a household and they just don't have any educational tools.
We've had students where they hadn't seen books. They've not been read to. They've not looked at a book until they get to kindergarten. And so, they're starting so far behind, and to get them caught up by third grade when they can start really focusing on reading it's almost insurmountable for these kids to be prepared to get into high school, graduate, and do that.
And what's your experience here with other school board members? Is it helpful to just kind of trade stories?
Oh, absolutely. This is the biggest thing here is we hear presentations and all that, but the networking between districts of, whether it's the largest school district or a rural school district in southeast Missouri somewhere, we have some of the same problems. And so being able to share stories and solutions and alternatives, you always go back with something new, something different, and to ask the question, can Springfield do this? It worked here, can it work here? And so that's one of the benefits of a conference like this, is just the ability to have dialogue with other districts.
And Brent and Melissa, when we talk about rankings, usually your favorite team is ranked in the top 25. What about people that are dedicated to education? Are you constantly wondering, how do we rank versus Illinois, versus the rest of the country? Are those the numbers that you guys is that always the measuring stick?
Well, I think those sorts of rankings can be helpful, Martin, and I think people do pay attention to rankings. I don't think there's any doubt about that, whether it's comparing local school districts or comparing state to state. But on the other hand, you have to take those rankings with a bit of a grain of salt, because there are different circumstances, and we see that here in the state of Missouri, as Gerry was just talking about. We have all kinds of different school districts with different demographics, different poverty rates, different issues that they're dealing with. And so to directly compare school districts by some of these measures is really not very meaningful in a lot of ways. On the other hand, overall rankings, I mean, we like to look at where we rank. Melissa was talking about ranking on funding, for example. Yeah, we take a look at that, and sometimes those can be helpful. But rankings are out there, but people need to understand what they mean sometimes, and it's not always possible to compare directly school district to school district.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, not even comparing school district, but a school district like Springfield, who has 40 schools. We have different issues even within our own district with different parts of town, different demographics, that one size doesn't fit every elementary school in Springfield. So we have to look at it even from a micro level, not just state to state, district to district, but within the district. We have different issues within our own community.
And I think what's important to understand, too, is that every state has the ability to set their own standards. And it's not, Missouri has always embraced setting high standards for our districts, so it's really not fair at this particular point to compare Missouri with some of our, with other states, because we do expect a lot more out of our schools, and we don't want to change that. We want to continue to push forward and be aggressive, because we in Missouri believe we should be educating our children for their future, not our past. And so, when you look at how Missouri's children are doing, particularly on our assessment, compared to Arkansas or compared to any other state, it's not comparing apples to apples.